Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another fantastic episode of Kudamangwe Live. I am very excited today to be joined by none other than Admire Dube, who is the financial editor for the Southern African Times. He is a financial analyst, he's an economist, and he loves crunching the numbers, and he has gracefully and graciously allowed himself to come on today to help us crunch some very, very important numbers and interpret some numbers that have all of us thinking about our futures in this country. And that is, of course, the RBZ Forex system. Is it working? Is it not working? Are we doing it right? What is the deal? Admire, thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to this. How are you doing this evening?
Hello, Kuda. How are you? Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. I was really inspired by the article that you wrote that I shared on our page, and it really managed to really capture the essence of what's really going on in Zimbabwe. Before we get into the forex, a little bit more about yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you've come into the space of economics and economics analysis, and tell us a little bit more of your work with the Southern African Times, and then we can get into the crux of what we're doing.
That's fine. Thank you. As you rightly mentioned, my name is Admire Dube. I'm a financial analyst. I've worked in finance for close to 17 years of my career in companies that include the Commercial Bank of Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, Fineco Bank in the UAE, and currently here in the UK. My passion for figures has taken me to platforms I had never thought I would end up in, which includes having to author financial analysis pieces for 4 different newspapers, 2 of which are international and 2 are local. And I'm a resident finance editor with the Southern African Financial Times. And yeah, that's how I'm sure we got to meet from my articles, which I've been writing in the past few weeks. That's in the long and short of it, that's me.
That's awesome. And those articles, trust me, are nothing short of exciting and inspiring. So Admire, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, awesome. So let's get into the crux of it. Can you please explain for us very quickly, for those of us who may not be clued up on what the RBZ auction system really is about? Could you let us know what is the RBZ auction system really about? What does it do?
The auction system is a platform where exporters, where Zimbabwean exporters, after exporting their goods and getting paid for those, they come and amortize their money. That is to liquidate their forex, which they would have got from proceeds of sales outside the country. And then to finance their local production and needs, they really need to get the RTGS, which is the Zimbabwe local dollar. And in the same token, for those Zimbabweans who need to import anything into Zimbabwe, they'll need forex. And so the RBZ auction system brings these 2, the exporters and the importers, with different needs, one needing to amortize or to liquidate their forex, and the other needing that same forex to make fresh imports. They come and meet in this platform, which is facilitated by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Now from a local perspective, a lot of us were not hopeful about this RBZ auction system. I personally was like, here we go again. It's another band-aid on trying to, circumvent bigger problems. Like, this is not going to work. We just need to get back to the US dollar. But surprisingly, and I'll admit, I will say surprisingly for myself, it seems to be working. I don't know if it's working. It seems to be working because we have managed to stably peg pricing at about 100, 105, 110, in the Jambanja market, and the bank rate has stayed steady at around 82, 83. So for the most part, for the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks or so, it seems like it's stable and our currency is stable and it's working. So is it working, or
Well,
am I just
that's the million-dollar
catching on the
question
course?
that everyone is keen to know. Is the
Mm,
RBZ forex system working? To
mm,
answer you, perhaps I should start by explaining what were its objectives, was the mission behind setting it up. Then I'll look at has it succeeded against those objectives, as well as against the plethora of stakeholder requirements, being you and I, the public. That's I think the best way to look at if the system has really worked or not. Now, to look at the objectives, first and foremost, as you've just put across the jumbo market, at some point, the exchange rate was now standing at about 120 local currency for $1. And Zimbabwe is a heavily dependent country on imports. We import almost everything, from mundane things as small as toothpicks to milk to fuel, energy. So the exchange rate that is obtaining at the time, sorry, I need to adjust this. Pardon me. Okay. You can hear me, yeah?
yeah, perfect,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. The exchange rate that is obtaining at the time also affects almost everything that is in the country. So the RBZ had to come in and stabilize, first of all, the rate itself, and then secondly, to try and find efficient allocation of these resources. So the question you're asking, has the RBZ succeeded or not? It's a hard one. It's a big yes, but there's some misses as well, hits and misses. But mainly on the main, it has succeeded in its objectives it was set up to do. And I can go on and proceed and tell you those objectives if you need me to explain them.
You are literally, you have to tell us everything, because we need to know if it's working. Because
Okay.
the last thing that we want, the reason why this is important for us to understand, the reason why we need to know is because one of the things that has held a lot of Zimbabweans back, whether it's warranted or not, whether it's true or not, the planning and future planning is something that's been difficult to do, and something that has been a critical component that's missing in the future, or the perspective of what Zimbabwe should be. And this RBZ auction system has given us a glimmer of hope that we might be able to start planning our lives. We never really wanted to be able to be 1:1. That was not what was important. What was important was that when you woke up tomorrow, your money was the same as it was last week and the week before and the week before that. We want stability. In Malawi, I think the rate is like something astronomical in the high hundreds, right? But it's been like that for the last 3-4 years. So in Malawi, when you're paid X amount of kwacha, it means X amount of money. So are we there yet, or are we still waiting? That's what you need to explain for us.
Okay, that's fine. First, maybe let me give the background. Around March, after the introduction of, in fact, the RBZ introduced a fixed rate of 1:25. This was to try to give a semblance of stability, as you are requesting, such that when you wake up tomorrow, you know, I slept at 1:25, I wake up tomorrow at 1:25, I can plan my business, I can plan whatever. And this unfortunately failed, because this was an abstract figure. It wasn't reflective of what the push and pull of the market forces. So they had to come up with the option. But maybe to give you the long and short of it, to give you the biggest answer that you need to understand that the RBZ, when it came up with this system, they were the parallel market at that time was close to 120, and being close to 120, life became difficult. I think there were even riots at some point when the government tried to even improve or increase the price of fuel. But this was a reflection of what the rate was, which was obtaining at the time. And it also included simmering anger with people. So the RBZ had to step in. Now, the way they stepped in is that the auction system, how it works, every importer, pardon me for this, it seems, got it now, finally. The way the auction system works, I explain as if I'm telling a small child how the system works. The system is any individual or any company that needs Forex to import anything, they approach their bank. And when they approach their bank, they have to approach it a day before the auctions, which is usually the auctions now are done every Tuesday. So by Monday, 3 p.m., 1500 hours, you approach your bank and you make a bid, you make a request. For that request to be effective, you have to also show purpose, to show proof. What do you need the money for? This, of course, is maybe to enable efficient allocation when the bid and then the allocation is done the next day in the following in the auctions. So when you make your 50,000, it is taken to the auction the next day by your bank representing you. And the bank puts in what is called a bid, which is they are requesting this kind of money. The exporters are also at the same auction place where they are trying to liquidate their Forex, and they place what they call an ask, which is what do they require, what do they need, what is the minimum amount that they're willing to separate with their Forex. So they call it the ask. Now the bid and the ask, the gap between those is called the spread. The first auction, which was done, I think, on the 23rd of June, 2020, if you look at it, only 10 million was exchanged hands on that auction. But the last auction that happened recently, it was almost double that. We're talking figures in excess of 18 million, which means the confidence is increasing. The second part is this spread that I spoke of, the difference between the offer and the bid, the exporter and the importer coming together. The gap was so large at start. People were offering as low as 25, and the exporters were requesting as high as 100 to $1. But now they've come so close to almost the same amount, which means the market has discovered the true value. And this true value, because it is market discovered, it is stronger. So the auction, in that regard, it means it has helped the system or the economy to discover the actual value of the US as at present, which means the stability can be expected to go further. This is not influenced by any market forces or influenced by whoever sitting at wherever desk. This is what the market really requires. So that's a big win in that the auction system has enabled the two exporters and importers to come to a figure which is aligned with their requirements and their needs. And because of this confidence, the auction figures have increased, have improved twofold from around 10 to about 18 million at present. That's the first thing. The second thing is the issue, or should I say the figures that were required were quite exclusive. Huda, you would need 50,000 for you to participate in the auction, 50,000 US dollars. That's quite an astronomical figure, and it excluded most of the SMEs. The auction has managed to incorporate that section. Now there's, alongside the main auction, there's also what's called the SME Forex auction. In this one, the minimum requirement is just 2,500 US dollars, up to a maximum, which is below the next one, which is 50,000. Beyond 50, which means you are the main player, you have to go to the next auction. So now, what this has done is, if Kuda, you need to import anything, and you have a receipt for it, you approach your bank right now, if the import is beyond 2,500, and then you request that they bid for you the next following day, which is every Tuesday. That's how we are getting our money in the formal system, everything straightforward. And if you look at that regard, that's why I'm saying it has measured success. First of all, it has allowed the economy to discover the price. Secondly, it has allowed the importers and the exporters to have a market at which they can make informed decisions. Thirdly, it has improved the efficiency of allocation of those resources because there is a list of priority lists, and those get obviously first priority. You're talking things like pharmaceuticals for your medicines, you're talking energy and power. they don't have to be scrounging around in the parallel market to get that amount. All they have to do is make a bid, get the money allocated, and everything is as straightforward as possible, which improves predictability for everyone who's in the business at the present moment in Zimbabwe.
This sounds fantastic for people in business. What does that mean for you and me, man? The average person on the street, because it's us who we don't have any way to participate in the auction. We only just see auction results coming out. You call a business, you say, hey, what price are you selling your t-shirts at? They're like, I will tell you after the auction, etc., etc. What does that mean what is everything that you've just said? I understand what it means for business, but what does it mean for the individual on the street who just wants to walk into Spar and pick up bread at the same price from now until 19 January?
The shortest, simplest answer is that it affects your price. The business person is in business to make a profit. So whatever cost they get their forex for to import, mind you, I just told you earlier that Zimbabwe is importing almost everything that we're using, and to list even toothpicks are in that list. So because the business person is in business to make money, they have to pass that cost to you. At whatever cost they get the amount, they'll pass it to you as the consumer to make a profit out of their business. So what this means is if the auction is managing to stabilize, in fact, to reduce the price, because the first auction day, the prices were as high as 100. And now the last auction, it was standing at 82.7, somewhere there, 82.7 was the final. So the price is actually even reducing. So in a sense, this is going to be a benefit to you, the consumer. When you walk into a shop, who that tomorrow, you want to buy anything, expect the price to be the same as yesterday, if not less, as the price is reduced. This is what has been brought to you by the auction.
Now,
and mind you, before you go further,
yeah,
I wanted to say the auction platform itself is not new in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. It was initially introduced in 2004 by the then governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Dr. Gideon Gono. But then it was abandoned within a year because the market realized that the RBZ was keen on controlling the price. It wasn't allowing market forces to work at that. So the sellers then began to complain because they're not getting fair value for their forex. The sellers, in this case, being the exporters, after they get paid their forex, they were now complaining that the figure is fixed. So it collapsed because of that. But in the current system, it seems the RBZ is allowing market forces to be at play. So it's a plus on their side. And also you have to note, this auction system is not unique to, even in Africa, it's not unique to Zimbabwe only. They're using a repeatable platform, like they're using the Reuters foreign currency auction system, which is linked to the export payment and exchange control platforms in the whole of Africa and the world. And central banks of, for instance, Ghana and Uganda, they're using the same forex auction system. So it's not unique to Zimbabwe as well.
So essentially, just a quick recap, and we've got Opa Karen Gambaya, who's just come Gambahaya, who says she's finally understood this auction system. So I'm very glad to see that comment, because it means that we're making headway in this conversation. So just to the main just a yes or no, the main goal of one of the main goals of the auction system was to help the market find the true value of the US dollar in the Zimbabwean market. True.
Yes.
Okay. Now, one very unavoidable thing that we have in Zimbabwe is hope, right? Because a lot of the times that is all we have. And hope, in this sense, that in this particular case, means it's working, it looks like it's working, but can we rest and say, I know you can't speak obviously for the government, but can we now rest and say, Zanaka, let's start thinking about our futures in a more productive way? In other words, what are some of is this sustainable? One, and two, what are some of the ways that, all this good work can go to the wayside?
Let's look. Okay, of course, I don't sit on the board of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. I wouldn't know exactly what their plans are in the short and the medium term. not, well, even in the long term. But looking at it from a finance perspective, the auction system as it is currently constituted should be looked at as training wheels for a bicycle, for a child who's learning to ride a bicycle. At some point, they'll have to come off, and the child should be able to balance him or herself on that bicycle with all those training wheels. The system, the auction system, the system I'm speaking about, it realizes that there is not enough forex in the market at the moment, or maybe in the formal market, there's not enough. So the system is trying to bring everyone on board to a point where everyone is confident. Even you could, when you get your forex, it's sent to you from the diaspora, you should be confident of the system where you bring your forex that you've received from a money transfer agency to the system, and that builds more confidence. It's a snowball effect, building more confidence to a point where every forex is passing through the formal system. When that point is done, not every, of course, it's impossible to have every, but there's a critical point. When that critical point is reached, the RBZ should then divest from the system. They should then, perhaps, this is just a suggestion from me, like what is happening or what was happening in the checks era. I don't know if checks are still the main thing at the moment in the Zimbabwean market, but this is where the banks were at liberty to exchange their own checks in what was called everyday clearing process, where your FBC bank check is cleared to First Capital Bank check, the banks among themselves without the need of the central bank to be involved. So now this is now divested to the banks on the lower end. That's the ultimate aim. So in the short answer that you need is, this system is not sustainable long term. It's too central to inspire confidence.
So it's a temporary stop measure. Now, when you say that, trust me, as Zimbabweans, we're very jaded, and we've got a lot of fool me once, fool me twice attitude in our hearts, and it hurts for some Zimbabweans to get to a point to say, Mtuli probably got this right. A lot of Zimbabweans are more comfortable waiting for the moment where they can say, I told you so. I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that that's just where we've been put by endless schemes that have come out to have failed, or have come out to have insincere, causes or means. And so when you say that something like this is not sustainable, what then is the best way for me to navigate the next couple of months? Because I don't want to sit and hope for nothing. I also don't want to sit and just wait for the ticking time bomb to blow up so I can turn around and say to people, I told you so. I want to be as productive as possible. So what would be, in your opinion, the best 3-month strategy I can put together while this auction system is good for now, seeing as it's not sustainable?
3 months, that's quite short term, and I'll be surprised if the RBZ is.
As long as possible. I just said 3 months, and I think that Christmas.
Okay, let me put it this way. This is my personal opinion. I'll be surprised if the auction system is out of our lives in the next 12 months. Okay. The system is still starved of money, because if you notice, there's still a situation where the RBZ is, I do not use the word forcing, but it's well, there's no other alternative word. The RBZ is forcing exporters to sell their forex. If you are an exporter, you are given a small portion. I think it was standing at 30%. When last I checked, I'm not too sure what it is now, where you're allowed to retain 30% for every $100 that you get from proceeds of your export. Let's say you export your peri wherever, you're a farmer and you export. And then from that receipt, or be it a mine, exports it gold, from that receipt, it is forced to sell a significant chunk of that at the auction system. That means the RBZ is cognizant of the fact that the system does not have enough money for it to function on a voluntary service. So when you look at that point, it shows you that the auction is still with us for quite some time to come. And it may be bad news, but it's also good news. It also means there's some predictability for the short term. As we are in Kuda for the next 12 months, you can expect the rates to be stable, hopefully to be stable, and the system to be in place. Medium term, we're talking 2-3 years. That's why I was saying this should be looked at as maybe training wheels. We can't sustain a system with an auction system where there's a priority list. Someone is holding a list and encouraging, saying, okay, this money goes there, this money. Already that's negating the economic forces, which should allocate. And there's no better allocator than the market forces. The market will go wherever it gets equilibrium. And the human hand should play a minimal role in affecting what the market is dictating for business in Zimbabwe and in the world at large anyway.
So should I buy a house? Should I put my money in a pillow? Should I bank my stuff? Or what's this? You explained the second half of the question, but you missed the first half, which is what's the best strategy I can put together to ensure that over these next 12 months, while these training wheels are on, I'm productive. I'm not just sitting waiting for a time bomb, or I'm not sitting just pointing fingers. What can I do? This is because clearly the flaws are there. It's an unfair system. It's too centralized. It doesn't offer long-term, interest or incentive for exporters to continue on in this system. So it has an end. So what I'm saying is, as a citizen, I'm not participating in this auction. I'm not there with the 50,000 or even the 2,500. So what's the best thing I can do right now or for the next 12 months to ensure that I don't miss this wave? There's
an adage. There's an adage that says success begets more success. And this is quite apt for the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe foreign auction system right now. If you look at the projection, it's success after success. It's minuscule. So at times, maybe not as much as we would have loved, but success it is in the balance of things. Why do I start by going all the way that way, Kuda, is to tell you that I can almost predict right now that the exchange rate will progressively continue falling. What your US dollar is buying you right now, expect it to buy less of the Zimbabwe dollars as time progresses. By that, I mean the rate is progressively coming down. So if you're talking of putting your money in the pillow, well, since it is the US dollars, the US dollar, it maintains its value. But it won't be as exorbitant to buy it from you in the future, in the medium future, which I was speaking to, as it is now, because the rate is progressively falling. It is.
Sorry,